All right, breaking news here. DeAndre Hopkins is a Kansas City Chief. The Chiefs trade for the 32-year-old wide receiver, only pay a fifth round pick that could become a fourth round pick. Either way, feels like it's a bit light for a guy that at his peak has been a top five wide receiver in football. And while he hasn't quite been that guy since going over to the Tennessee Titans, he's still been a very effective player for them. And it's only a 1 year, $5 million deal, is what the ultimate price tag is going to be for the Chiefs. So, from the Titans' perspective, hey, you're rebuilding. If this is the best value you can get, sure, take the draft pick and save some money, which will help you. That does help the cap next year, saving the money. So, sure. Totally understand why the Titans are making this move. It's what you got to do. I'm sure they're a little disappointed. This is all they could get. I'm surprised as well. I thought, and I'm going to say, there's a lot of a lot of wide receiver needy teams that I think are going to kind of look at this trade and say, we couldn't have done that. As a Tampa Bay fan, I'm thinking, if that's what it was, I would have loved to, just give a straight up fourth round pick and make this work. But let's talk about maybe why why it's not as much of why they didn't get as much draft capital. The Titans didn't, and then we'll talk about what I think Hopkins will bring to the Chiefs. The numbers aren't spectacular for Hopkins this season. Only 15 catches so far, only 173 yards. So that's not great. He is coming off of an 1,000-yard receiving season, but as I said, he hasn't had really a dominant year since 2020 when he had 1,400 yards. That was the year that the Cardinals, were dominant for a bit. Actually, what's that the year the Cardinals were dominant for a bit? It might have been 2021 that they looked great for a bit, but I believe it was 2020. 1,400 yards. He was amazing since then, but he's kind of struggled to stay healthy for a part of it, and even the year that he was healthy, it wasn't like he was lighting the world on fire. He was just a very good wide receiver. So I think that's why teams have cooled off on him a bit. Only 32 years old. It is a pure 1 year rental, but still, it feels like the upside is there for Kansas City. And while, yes, you might not be getting a superstar level wide receiver, similar to how when the Titans traded a second round pick for Julio Jones, they maybe thought they were getting more than what they ultimately got. Maybe that's what caused teams to be a little bit cooled off on something like this Hopkins move. But again, it feels like it's far worth the risk for Kansas City, and they certainly feel pretty good about about making a move like this. So yeah, I mean, a really good stuff here. I think for the Chiefs, who again, I should mention box score stats aren't everything. If you look at a PFF grade, he's currently 49th out of 125 eligible receivers, which isn't elite, but it still would be he still is the highest graded Kansas City Chiefs receiver other than Rashee Rice, who was injured. So, again, I think it could be a really, it's a really good move. It makes sense for the Chiefs, and I'm surprised a team that's not the Chiefs didn't outbid them. Especially hey, if you're Baltimore and they call you and say, hey, we're considering sending this guy to the Chiefs, I feel like almost at that point, you're like, okay, we'll make a trade to get him just so that way we get him and the Chiefs don't get him, right? I feel like if you hear Kansas City's in the conversation, you gotta then, outbid just to make sure they don't get who they want. Because that's a big blow for every other team in the AFC, the Chiefs getting someone potentially very good. Now, let's talk about the fit itself with Hopkins, because I find this fascinating as well. Hopkins is not a speed guy. That's not his thing. And the Chiefs are all about speed. They love to have guys, flying down the field in terms of their wide receivers. And then, Kelsey's obviously different because he's a tight end. Hopkins is someone who a lot of times can even be a jump ball guy, which for Mahomes, that's not always really his thing, right? He's usually trying to find an open guy, not find someone that, let's just throw it up and take a chance. So I do find that fascinating. And not to say that Hopkins can't get open, not to say that Hopkins can't blow by someone at times, and not to say Hopkins can't, find ways to get separation. But, part of his game is the incredible contested catches he can make. I don't know how much that's going to be of value here. I do think what they're looking for with this trade for Hopkins is another guy who can just win on one-on-ones. Because, I mean, I did think that these past few games when we've seen teams kind of play man coverage against the Chiefs haven't really done that great of a job getting guys open. And Mahomes has kind of struggled at being able to find someone who's open. Usually he's had to use his legs to kind of, extend plays long enough for someone to get open or just rush and pick up yards like he did against San Francisco. So getting just another guy, even if Hopkins isn't an elite player, if he can be someone who can just get open somewhat consistently in these situations, it still couldn't matter a ton for this roster. Because, again, I mean, he's going to step in and probably be wide receiver number 1 right out of the gate. Option number 2, because you still have Kelsey, but wide receiver number 1, which is, again, it's truly crazy because yes, it's a rental, so like that's probably hurting his value. But there are other trades that were like rentals. In fact, the other 2 trades with Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams, who, I don't think it's, crazy to think that those guys could be considered more valuable than Hopkins. But it's interesting because Amari Cooper feels very similar to the Hopkins situation of like has had some great years, then some good years recently, and just hasn't been great this season. But also it's a bad situation, so who can blame him? And it hasn't been awful this season either. Like that's kind of how that's why I'm so confused about the not a ton of draft capital. And it's worth mentioning. I mean, if you're trading for the Chiefs' 4th round pick, you're essentially expecting one of the last picks of the 4th round. Now, there's some comp picks in the 4th round, so even the 32nd overall pick wouldn't be the last pick in the 4th round, but that's kind of what you're expecting, right, when you trade for someone, when you trade with the Chiefs. So you would assume that you would take a 4th round pick from any other franchise, no one else wanting to do it. It's a bit of a, it's surprising to me for Tennessee, but like I said, for the Titans, I think you could make an argument. Maybe the Titans shouldn't do this. Maybe they should wait another week, see if someone else gets injured, because you still have, a couple weeks until the trade deadline, so they don't have to make this move. But again, you're getting a pick. You're saving the money now. You save less money if you make them trade later. So I guess I get it. But I don't know. Really good stuff here by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, again, you can't feel better about them because everyone's, I'm still saying they're the number 1 favorite team to win the Super Bowl just because how could you not? They've won back-to-back Super Bowls and are undefeated. But at the same time, this is a really good, I think, a move that can help them get better. And this is what good organizations do, right? It'd be so easy for them to say, hey, whatever, what we're doing is working, we're 6-0, we don't have to stress too much. No, they realize, yeah, we do have some weaknesses here. Even if we are undefeated and have won back-to-back Super Bowls, we could still add another guy. So let's go out, and I wouldn't be shocked that they add another one before it's all said and done. But yeah, good move for the Chiefs. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.